Is the Boston Globe here? Oh, there you go. Okay.
Could you tell me a little bit about sort of what the contrast between statewide passage of equal rights for women and the rollback of abortion access can tell us about the climate that this resolution is being introduced in?
Well, first I just want to say it's not surprising to me that at a inflection point in our country where we do see an unprecedented number of women serving, that we also find ourselves in the midst of daily unrelenting legislative attacks against our bodily autonomy and our rights. It's a backlash of its own. Good thing about all of us and women writ large, we're battle tested. And we do recognize, and we've seen enough times, that unfortunately gains are not guarantees. And so we have to fight like hell to preserve the gains that have been made while doing the work of advocating, organizing, and legislating to expand upon those rights. You know, there certainly is a correlation here, as was referenced earlier. We perhaps would not have seen this unprecedented action from this far-right imbalanced Supreme Court in legislating from the bench and overturning the will of the majority of the people by overturning the Dobbs decision. I believe that the people are with us not only on bodily autonomy and reproductive rights and abortion justice, but they are also with us on the need to finally ratify the ERA. As evidenced by, I'd say, the diversity of this coalition of members both in the House and Senate. Senator Cardin, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, First, let me thank all the people that are here, and thank you for your spirit, your motivation, your energy. We need that. There's systemic discrimination in America, we know that, and there's systemic gender discrimination. We see it in the workplace, we see it in healthcare, we see it in safety issues. We need a higher standard to be able to protect against gender discrimination. By having those provisions in the U.S. Constitution, it's a higher standard that has to be met and gives those that are being victimized a better chance of pursuing equity in our courts. So it's an incredibly important part of our struggle for equality in America.
The reality is, and I wanted to say this, and we're all trying to say something different, but the Equal Rights Amendment has been ratified, and this resolution speaks to it very clearly that it has met all of the requirements of the United States Constitution. So we're not walking away from this. But just as the senator said, right now the courts have not been ruling us at the highest standards, anything on sex discrimination. It could be employment, it could be violence, it could be education. I could go on. They're finding loopholes so discrimination can go on. And when we say we fought 100 years, we not only are fighting for ERA 100 years, but I can testify that for over 50 years now, we have been fighting on every major issue, and our laws simply are not strong enough. And this is to say unequivocally that you cannot discriminate against either sex, by the way. There cannot be gender discrimination, and that also goes to the LGBTQ issue. In other words, we want full equality for all citizens in this country. We think we have it, but when it comes to court time, we're starting behind. And so we are determined that the ratification be recognized by the archivists, recognized and put into the Constitution, because we have done everything you need to do to ratify the ERA, or to ratify an amendment. I know it's hard to grasp that because it still has not been put into the Constitution in and there's still a court fight ahead. But the reality is we have met those conditions and we will do it again. You can see from the young people here, on the youth vote, over 3/4, that says both women and men, but are for the Equal Rights Amendment. And young women are conditioning their votes on this now. They want full equality, and for heaven's sakes, they don't want to have less rights than their mothers had.
That's right.
And so this is a very important time. And I think that I am so proud that this is also, is not only intersectional, but it's intergenerational.
Yes.
Young and old are together on all the, every minority group. Let's face it, they're not minority groups. Diversity is the greatness of this country. We're working together, but we want all rights for all citizens as equal.
And I would just add, these are very impassioned, eloquent appeals, but this is not an appeal for charity or benevolence. This is about reciprocity, what we deserve, and it's about enshrining our humanity and our dignity. And women have been on the front lines in the work of emancipation and liberation for everyone else. And so it is our time, and this is the moment, especially in the midst of unprecedented attacks against women and LGBT and other marginalized communities. And so I think what's really important here is that this gives Congress, federal agencies, and the courts a new tool to advance equality in the fields of workforce and pay, pregnancy discrimination, reproductive autonomy, protections for LGBTQ folks, and more. And so this is about transformative, constitutional equality, and that's why we're here. Any other on-topic questions?